Today we're going to be doing something slightly different. I have made a Nuzlocke version of Pokemon Crystal and we're going to be putting it through its paces. This Nuzlocke patch is just like the Challenge Run patch. It adds plenty of quality of life features that we are going to be seeing throughout the course of this challenge. And the first quality of life feature we're going to be seeing is in Professor Elm's laboratory. That is where the magic is going to happen. So once we've spoken to Elm, we will then speak to the side of his PC, and that is where all of our options for Nuzlocking are going to live. So once we speak to this PC, we will see, do we want to update the starter Pokemon so that we can select our own custom starters? We're going to say no, and then we're going to say yes to playing on Nuzlocke mode. Do we want to catch just one type to put it through its paces? I'm going to say yes, but I am going to wimp out and I'm going to pick the water type. So now all our catches are going to be restricted to just water type Pokemon. That does mean that the Nuzlocke tracker is also smart enough to know when a Pokemon is a valid encounter and cross that route off the list, but say if we encounter a Rattata or a Sentret on Route 29, it will not cross Route 29 off the list. In fact, we will not get any valid encounters on Route 29. Now, another feature of this particular patch is the option to randomize your starters. So at this PC, you will see an option, randomize the starters yes or no. But because we've picked the water type, this middle ball is always going to contain Totodile. That will never change no matter how many times we randomize, but the left-hand ball and the right-hand ball will contain random water-type Pokemon, and that will be the same for the left-hand ball for the fire-type Nuzlockes and the right-hand ball for grass-type Nuzlockes. So you will always have the standard vanilla starter option if you're randomizing your starters. Now, one thing to note is that this randomizer is smart enough to know if a Pokemon can evolve into another Pokemon of different type. So the easiest way to demonstrate that is if we very quickly change to the Steel type. So if we swap to the Steel type, we will then randomize the starters once more, and we get Scyther there. That's a perfect example. Scyther can evolve into Scizor, therefore Scyther is a valid Steel type encounter. It's up to you whether you use the Scyther as a Scyther or wait until you get a Metal Coat, but the option is still there. Other Pokemon include Onix into Steelix, or for another type you've got Pokemon like Pupitar and Larvitar, which are rock ground, but they are also in the pool of Pokemon for dark type Pokemon. But we are going to switch back to the water type, and I think we are going to just pick Totodile here. Totodile's a one-time only encounter, of course, because you can only get it from Professor Elm, so it will make most sense to have that as our starter Pokemon. And with all that intro out of the way, we are ready to start our Nuzlocke. I'm going to pick Totodile. Of course I'm going to call it Dial like I do every single Totodile I have. And one thing to note is you do not get any option to guarantee DVs in this particular version of the patch. That's something that's only available in the Challenge Run version of the patch. And your first choice comes here actually. Do you want to play with a level cap? I'm going to be brave and say yes. That means that our Pokemon will not be able to level up above the level of the next Gym Leader's Pokemon. You'll see that level cap in the bottom left hand corner at all times. It will update the further and further through the Nuzlocke we go. Now you may notice we got an encounter there, but we don't have Pokeballs yet. Therefore the Nuzlocke has not officially started. I'm going to do a little bit of grinding now though against some wild Pokemon, and I'll meet you back when we're ready to take on the rival battle. Now, one of the reasons I picked Totodile was to give us the hardest rival battles throughout the course of this Nuzlocke. It's not going to be too difficult here though. Chikorita is not a very strong Pokemon in Rival 1. We only took 4 damage throughout the course of that entire battle, so we'll now head towards Professor Elm, we'll name the rival, and with those 2 bits out of the way, we are ready to officially start the Nuzlocke. We have Pokeballs, so the Nuzlocke rules are now in effect. As I mentioned before, this is a smart Nuzlocke tracker, so this route's encounters will not be crossed off because we have not encountered a valid Pokemon. So unfortunately for us, that means we're getting nothing on Route 29. Now I'm coming up here to the second floor of the Pokemon Center to show you a couple of useful NPCs. This first one will change the time and day, so we're going to keep it on Sunday, but we are going to change it to night. That means we will be able to get a Poliwag encounter on the next route, and this lady here will show us the hidden power type of our leading Pokemon. So our hidden power type is actually Dark. That's very, very good, because it means there is a chance of perfect DVs. A slim chance, but a chance nonetheless. Now, as you can see, it has turned to night on Route 30, courtesy of the clock changer, and that means that our encounter is in play. In fact, we find it on our very first turn. Let's try knocking this Poliwag into the yellow health, and then let's throw a Pokeball. We'll see just how lucky we get with the catch here. I really hope we get Poliwag. We do have a chance on the route above, but we catch it on our second ball, and we're going to call this one Swirly. Swirly, and that is our second member of the team. Now, just to show you, this is what happens if we encounter another Pokemon. You can see there is a big X next to their name. That means that this route is now blocked off, and if we try and use a Pokeball, the game won't let us. That's part of this smart Nuzlocke tracking. So now I've got to do a little bit of grinding, get all the Pokemon up to level 9, and then we'll be ready to take on Falkner. Very quickly before we take on Falkner, we now find ourselves on Route 31. We're not able to get a new encounter on this route at the moment. It would be up to us whether we caught a second Poliwag, but this route's encounters will be entirely open until either we fish something up or we do decide to get that second Poliwag. And now it's time to take on our first gym together. This is Falkner's flying type gym, and he should be fairly simple. We're going to be going with a tried and tested rage strategy here, and as long as Pidgey doesn't miss or we don't crit, it should be fairly simple. Of course, we do get the crit there just to ruin our day. That did mean we were in slight danger of being knocked out, but we did have the berry as a backup. We defeated Falkner, we've obtained our first badge, we get Mudslap as a TM, and you may notice in the left hand corner the level cap has now increased up to 16. That means we'll be getting experience from our wild and trainer battles once more, and we are now going to get the Togepi egg. We're going to deposit this because it's an illegal Pokemon in this challenge, and I did accidentally say no to something there. We've got a candy jar. I'm going to say yes to that just because it makes video making a lot easier. A candy jar is an infinite rare candy. The regular rare candies are still in this version though, so if you do want to play entirely legitimately, that option is there for you. Let's put Togepi in box 14, and now we'll start making our way south towards Azalea Town. Now, as we're making our way across Route 32, you may notice it's gone back to daytime. That was on purpose. I'm trying to play it a little bit smart when it comes to our encounters. Wooper's not a great Pokemon for this part of the challenge, so instead we're keeping it to daytime so that we can get the potential for a Quillfish outbreak later on. That does also have the added benefit of meaning our Union Cave encounter is likely to be a Lapras as well, because we don't get the Wooper encounters as we're walking through in the daytime on Pokemon Crystal. So that's something I'm going to be trying to keep a very quick note of every time I do the challenge to make sure that I'm getting the best possible encounter on each route. Now I'm going to go through the cave, and I'll see you on the other side. And now we are out of the cave and we can make our way into Azalea Town. We'll do a cheeky little heal whether we need to or not. We'll go and change the time, and then we can get our very next encounter. So we're going to keep it on Sunday so that we don't jank the berries, but we're going to night, and that is because we're going into the Ilex Forest, and much like we do on many of our challenge runs, we are looking for a Psyduck. I'm going to do it the classic way here of just going up and down until we do get our Psyduck encounter. It's guaranteed to be our actual encounter here in the forest. There are no other water types that show up, and here is our Psyduck. We're going to send it to sleep, and then we'll use a couple of water guns to get its health a little bit lower. Goodness me, that could have been very, very dangerous there, but we did just about keep it alive. That probably helped us catch our Psyduck, and we are going to call it Quackers. So Quackers the Psyduck is the third member of our team. We are going to get our fourth member very, very soon as well, because all we need to do is get an encounter in the Slowpoke well. So I tell you what, I will get rid of the rockets with a repel on, and then I'll meet you back when it's time to get our Slowpoke. That's Team Rocket all taken care of. I do just want to very quickly find out the hidden power type of our Psyduck. The fire type could be very interesting, although we do have ice type moves on Psyduck. Let's now go into the well though, and we're going to try and get ourselves a Slowpoke. It's not the most common encounter in here, and anyone who's tried getting an encounter in the Slowpoke well knows that it's incredibly difficult to get the encounters sometimes. They are not the quickest for cave encounters. Unlike Union Cave, where it feels like you get a Pokemon every 4 steps, Slowpoke well really is very, very slow. We're going to use a single scratch or 2 against the Slowpoke. I don't want to risk it too much, and now we're just going to start yeeting Pokeballs. We've got 12 Pokeballs plus a Great Ball. That should hopefully be more than enough to catch ourselves a Slowpoke. I don't want to risk using any other attacks just in case we crit. And you know what? We are going to call this one Dopey. It's the species name in the Pokédex. So now we have Dopey the Slowpoke, and our team is starting to get a little bit more fleshed out. And now that we have beat up all of the gym trainers in this gym, it's time for our second badge. This is Bugsy. He's a Bug-type specialist who leads with Metapod. Once again, I'm going to go for the Rage strats in this particular battle. I think it's going to prove to be the most reliable, especially with Metapod building up its defences. Kakuna does something very similar, and we are able to still two-shot it. Out comes the Scyther. We are hitting it very, very hard with Rage. And that was another very simple gym battle. We get the Hive badge. That means our level cap has gone up, all the way up to a level 20 for the Whitney fight. And that means we can have level 20 Pokemon for rival number 2. Taking no chances whatsoever though before we take on the rival in battle. We're going to use the Candy Jar once more, get all of our Pokemon up to the next level cap. We'll be saying goodbye to Totodile and hello to Croconaw in its place. And then we will get all the other Pokemon up to 20 as well. Quackers grows to 20, still doesn't evolve. We are level 20 with our first 2. And then Dopey has quite some way to go. Now, it wouldn't have made any sense at all for Dopey to be in the Bug-type gym, which is why we didn't bother rare candying it until after the battle, but it is now caught up with the rest of the team and just in time for the dreaded rival 2. I am not looking forward to this one. As they say, there's no time like the present. Let's get this battle going. This could be a very tricky one. I'm fully expecting to lose a Pokemon or 2 here. It all depends on how the RNG goes against this Bayleaf. We're going to swap into Dial. I think our physical attack is going to do the most damage here. A scratch or 2 could do something. We just need this Bayleaf to stay asleep. We critical hit. That is huge. The rest of the battle should be fairly free now. We don't get hit by Supersonic. I'm not going to switch. We get through with no losses whatsoever. I am so happy about that. Now, I was about to stop recording for the night, but we've just got this call from Fisher Ralph. It's a very important call, because this is the Quillfish Outbreak call. That means I've got to do a fair amount of fishing now in order to try and guarantee our Quillfish encounter. So let's stick on a rappel and let's get through the Ilex Forest. Then we'll take on our encounters on routes 34, 35 and then 32. Just before we get to the encounters though, I do want to show you we have replacement items for the HM items. So we get HM01 as normal and we also get the Scythe. That is to prevent soft locks, so we don't have to teach HMs to any of the Pokemon in our party. Instead we have items that will do the work for us. That's not so pertinent in a Water-type Nuzlocke where we have a lot of variety of Pokemon, but say for instance we're doing a Ghost-type Nuzlocke where our only encounters are Ghastly and Mischievous, we are not going to get blocked off for the rest of the challenge. Now, we've got to do these encounters in a very, very specific order. We want to do route number 35 first, come back to route 34, and then we will do route 32. Now, it's got to be in that order so that we can guarantee the Pokemon we want as encounters. The only Pokemon encounterable on this route that we can catch are Psyduck, which we already have, Poliwag, which we already have, and Magikarp. So what we can do is we can use this encounter for our Magikarp encounter. Hopefully it catches in the next few balls, like that. So we do have a Carp, unfortunately it's female, so it's going to have a low attack DV. We will call it Fish though, if I can spell it. I will grab some more balls from Goldenrod Mart, and then we'll go and get our Route 34 encounter. Now that I've got the balls from the Pokemots, we can look to get a Krabby. It is a low encounter rate on this route, but we've got it first time. I'm going to use a bubble or two here, probably get away with a water gun. We'll send it to sleep, and then we shall try to catch it. I'm not very happy about that Krabby setting up against us, but fortunately, I think it's only got special moves. We're going to use a Great Ball here, take no chances. We have our Krabby, and of course, it's going to be called Cookie. So Cookie is the next member of our team. It's our 6th member, but we do have one more Pokemon to catch. Now, after an excruciatingly long walk back to Route 32, we are ready to try and catch ourselves a Quillfish. I'm still not 100% sure how useful it'll be on the team, but I think having a Pokemon that can set up spikes could be incredibly handy. It's going to take a while to find though, because it's not a particularly common encounter, but the only other Pokemon in the encounter table at the moment is Magikarp. So that means we are guaranteed our Quillfish. We've just got to get a little bit lucky with the encounter. Hopefully it'll appear very, very soon. If it doesn't, I will cut to when we actually get the Quillfish encounter. And after an agonisingly long wait, we finally have our Quillfish. I'm going to use Bubble just a couple of times to get its health lower. Then we'll send it to sleep and we'll start yeeting balls at it. I'm not 100% sure how great Quillfish is going to be on the team, but I think it's a nice addition anyway. Of course it has a 1-turn sleep. And of course lowering its health doesn't seem to have made it any easier to catch. There we go, we have our Spiny the Quillfish, and with that it means I can go off to bed. Before I go to bed though, because I will forget before morning, we are going to get all of our Pokemon up to the level cap. So we are going to temporarily deposit Dopey, we will withdraw Spiny, and then we'll start using the candy jar on all of them to get them up to level 20, and that does mean that we're going to be saying goodbye to Fish the Magikarp, and in its place we are going to be getting a wonderful Gyarados. That could come in handy a little bit later on. I will skip through the other rare Candium because I don't think we're going to get any evolutions, and I will catch you all in the morning. It's a fresh morning here on the Nuzlocke, and we are going into probably my least favourite gym battle of all of them. I downplay Whitney's battle a lot in challenge runs, but that's because we have the level advantage over her. Because this is now hard-coded for us to not be above Whitney's level, this is going to be a completely different matter. Just before we battle her, I do want to say I did do a little bit of training so that we got some money so that we can buy some TMs before we leave Goldenrod. I want to get through Whitney's battle first, so I don't think we need them. And unfortunately, once again, we're going to be running with Totodile or Croconaw at this point. It's going to give us the best chance to get through this battle. So that's enough faffing about. We just need to get on with it. I really wish there was a more interesting, reliable strategy for Whitney, but Rage really gives us the best chance of getting through without too much damage. We just have to hope that this Clefairy hits Double Slap several times in a row. We only got the Double Rage, that's not really what we're after because that doesn't give us too much damage output. But Miltank misses the rollout, and that means we have defeated Whitney without losing any Pokemon. I promise you that we will not be leading with Croconaw for our next gym battle. We'll get ourselves TM45, our level cap is now 25, and we can start getting out of Goldenrod City. That was a lot less hairy than it could have been. I'm incredibly surprised by that. And our own personal reward for defeating Whitney is a few TMs. I'm going to get a couple of Ice Punches to start off with. We'll get another couple of Headbutts as well. And then I think what I will do is I will see if we've got anything that we can sell. Probably not. So we'll stick with what we've got for now. We actually have a fair amount of TMs in our bag. But because this is the Gen 2 style of TM, I really don't want to risk using any of them. I'm going to start heading towards Ecruteak City now though, where we will have the Kimono Girls to get Surf, and that's really going to make this challenge a lot easier now. It's a guaranteed stab, powerful move. We are also going to get the Raft. We're not going to be needing that on this challenge, but say for instance when we do the Fire-type Nuzlocke, that is going to come in handy because it means we can still get across the water. Now we are going to be teaching Surf to every single one of our Pokemon. It makes good sense to, so we'll get rid of Water Gun from Dial. Up next is Cookie. Cookie's going to lose the terrible Bubble. We'll be getting rid of, I think, Water Gun from Quackers as well at this point, if I teach it to the right Pokemon. We've got Spiny, Swirly and Fish left to go, and I think we'll also be seeing some evolutions soon as well, because we will be using the candy jar. I have an unwritten rule when I do Nuzlocks that I don't use the candy jar until after I've defeated the Kimono Girls, because they are generally a lower level than the Whitney battle. So it just makes sense to do that as a little bit more of a challenge. We are getting very close to teaching Surf to every single one of our Pokemon, and now what we will do is we will use the candy jar. It's sitting at the top of our bag. We'll go in reverse order this time, starting with Fish, and we will level everyone up to a level 25. Dragon Rage is going to be very handy in certain circumstances. It is of course a guaranteed 40 HP of damage, and in this midpoint of the challenge, that is not something to be sniffed at. 40 HP is a huge chunk of most enemies' health bars at this point in the challenge, so that really could come in handy in some unusual circumstances. We have just evolved into Poliwhirl with our Swirly. That's a nice upgrade to the base stats there. Spiny doesn't evolve. I don't know when Quackers evolves. I've run Psyduck so often, but I always forget its evolution level, which is kind of bad for me. I really should learn that. I don't think it's 25, it's definitely higher. Krabby I think is in the late 20s. Stomp's a very good move. Probably get rid of Vise Grip there. It could go very useful against any enemies who minimalise. And finally we will get the extra 2 levels on Dial. And just as I promised, we are going to put Dial towards the latter part of the party now. We are not going to be leading with Dial for any more gym battles in the near future. We'll heal up, now we have to prepare for rival number 3. I've decided to hold off on getting any fresh encounters until after we've got the badge for Surf. That's going to make the most sense, and it means we can guarantee encounters in certain spots that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. But now that does mean we are going to be taking on the 3rd rival battle, and I'm leading with Psyduck. I think Psyduck's going to be the best lead here. The only thing that could throw a spanner in the works is if that Haunter goes for Lick instead of Curse. We have been cursed, that's absolutely fine. We should be able to get rid of the Magnemite with no issue. Bayleaf could be problematic, but of course Fish will be neutral to Razor Leaf, and then we can use Dragon Rage. Look at that, it does well over half health, so we can 2-shot the Bayleaf, and we might as well stay in for the Zubat, although swapping to probably back to Quackers now that we are confused, because we don't want to hit ourselves in confusion and knockout. And that makes Rival 3 very, very simple indeed. We'll fall through the floor, we'll release the beasts, and because we don't have Dig on our learn set at the moment, we're going to have to actually speak to Usain. That never happens. And that does also mean we're not going to be able to use one of my favourite fall through the floor transitions. Instead, we have to manually walk ourselves up to Morty. I do have a bit of a strat in mind for this battle. We're going to surf against the Ghastly because that is a guaranteed one-shot. However, we're then going to rain dance against the Haunter and hope it doesn't go for Hypnosis, which it didn't. Then we can one-shot the Haunter away. Hypnosis is fine there because we've not been mean-looked. However, he has sent us to sleep again. Let's swap into Quackers. Quackers will have something super effective for it, but I think Surf's going to do a little bit more damage. Hypnosis has missed. That means this win is guaranteed now. Even 2 Nightshades would not be enough to knock us out, and we obtain the Fog badge, and we are all ready for Jotonian gym badges. That means we are able to use Surf now, so I've got a little bit of backtracking to do to get some encounters, so I'll show you what we're about to get. Our first encounter is here in Tojo Falls, where we guarantee either a Goldeen or a Sea King, and in fact, we've got the Sea King. That I wasn't expecting. I was expecting the Goldeen. I believe Sea King's only the 10% encounter here. We're going to send it to sleep, and then I think we're just going to surf it a little bit. I've got to be honest, Goldeen and Sea King isn't exactly a high priority for me on this Nuzlocke. There are much, much better water-type Pokemon. However, we still will catch it, I hope. Anyway, we're going to use Pokeballs. I don't particularly want to use Great Balls against this Sea King. I don't really think there's any benefit to wasting those. Of course, we're going to call it Susan, as we always do with our Goldeen and Sea King. It will go in the box, probably living there forever, and then we can grab the ladder. That's the waterfall equivalent. And while we're here on Route 27, I think we can either get a Tentacool or a Tentacruel. We've got the Tentacool. Once again, we're going to send it to sleep, and then I think we should be fine with a couple of Surfs. Tentacool has a lot of special defense. Even the double crit there would not have mattered. Once again, I think we're going to use a Pokeball here. It doesn't have a terrible catch rate, and it can't really hit us too hardly. There we go, we've got our Tentacool. I always call it Tent after a shiny one I got in Let's Go, so let's call this one Tent. We can put that in the box. And now our next encounter is here in Cherry Grove City. This is going to be a Staryu. We've already got the Krabby. That is in the encounter table. And we've already got Magikarp, which is also available via the Goldenrod. We are fishing at night, and that means that Staryu is the only thing that can appear here. Starmie could be a very powerful Pokemon, you know, if we catch it. But Staryu itself, not so good on its own, as we saw in its challenge run quite some time ago. Once again, I'm just going to use some not very effective moves, and I think this time I am going to throw a Great Ball. Staryu's catch rate isn't the best in the world, so we do need to be very careful here. We do have the Staryu though, and we are going to call it Starstruck after our challenge run Pokemon. And then we can start looking at getting even more catches. Surf, when you're doing a water-type Nuzlocke, really does open up how many Pokemon you can get. So I'll meet you for the next one. And the next one is here in Mount Mortar. There's only one valid encounter here in Mount Mortar, and that means we are guaranteed a Marill. It might take a little while, or it might just take a couple of encounters. Couldn't really have made that up. I was preparing for a very, very long session of filling time there. But Marill has played ball. Let's see if it catches first time. I think it has a high catch rate. It does. So we have Bugs the Marill after Bugs Bunny. I can never remember whether Bugs is 2 Gs or 1 G, so I'm just going to give it 1 G for now. That's going to go in the box as well. And I tell you what, we really are going here, there, and everywhere in this Nuzlocke. We now find ourselves here in the Ruins of Alph, where we are looking for a Wooper. We did, of course, decline the Wooper encounter much earlier on in the Nuzlocke, but it is encounterable here as well. So this is where we're going to cross off Wooper from our list, but it is a very, very low encounter rate. Thank goodness this Nuzlocke tracker is smart enough to know that Natu is not a water-type Pokemon. Here we have Quagsire. Now this is an issue because Quagsire can flee, so we're going to have to send it to sleep, use Surf probably twice against it, and just hope for the best. This is our last opportunity to get Quagsire in quite some time. We do have it. We're going to call her Quaggy. Of course we are, and then we can look at getting our next encounter. So it's going to be in the Union Cave for that one, so I'll meet you in a moment. We really are going round and round the houses in this Nuzlocke. Our next encounter is going to be the Friday Lapras here in Union Cave. Now I'm using Dragon Rage because that should just about get it deep into the red, and then we'll just start yeeting Pokeballs. I'm really hoping this one catches easily. It's got a very low catch rate, so we might not get as much luck as we need here. We're going to have to swap out from Fish as well. I reckon that Swirly is going to be the person, or the Pokemon I should say, to send in here. We'll send the Lapras to sleep. I'm not sure if sleep actually helps the catch rate in Generation 2, but I'm going to say it does for this particular encounter. We have our Nessie. That makes me incredibly happy. Nessie is going to be one of our MVPs of this challenge a little bit later on. It's gone to the box for now, but we are still not done catching Pokemon, would you believe? Our next encounter is here in Olivine Harbour. It's a choice between two Pokemon. We're either going to get Shelder or Chinchou. Now, I would prefer the Chinchou, which is exactly what we've got in front of us now, and that's because it's our only opportunity to get a Pokemon that can hit water types with a super effective move. And of course, we already have the water-ice type combination, I should say, with Lapras. We're going to call this one Chinny. It's going to go into the box for now, but I've got a feeling that Chinchou and Lantern might be seeing some action a little bit later on. Don't fret, we've only got a couple more encounters left to go, and then we can actually make some progress once more. Up next is route number 40. We are guaranteed a Tentacruel here. Now this is a very strategic one we're crossing off the list. Tentacruel is only a 10% encounter rate, but Tentacruel will then mean that we are guaranteed Mantine on Route 41. We just need to swap our Pokemon around a little bit to make sure that we can run away. There is a Tentacruel, we'll send it to sleep, and then it's got very high special defense, so I reckon we can surf it quite a few times without worrying about it getting knocked out. Unfortunately, it has poisoned us, so we are going to need to swap out in just a moment. It didn't wrap, but that's all we needed to do. We're going to swap into Fish now, because Fish has a fair amount of defense behind it. I've bought some more Great Balls after the last encounter, so let's hope that we can catch it in the next 16 encounters or so. There we go. We have Tent the Tentacruel. We're going to call this one 10-2 because it's our second tent. And if you're wondering why I have doubled up, it's because of the limitations of the Nuzlocke tracker. It doesn't know that Tentacruel is linked to Tentacool. And because we've got so many Tentacool encounters anyway, I'm doubling up, but this one won't be used unless our initial Tentacool does in fact faint. Right, I'm going to heal up the poison. We've got one more encounter left to go, and then we'll take on Chuck. And here we have our last encounter, at least for the time being. This is Mantine. Mantine has ridiculous special defense, but it also has one of the worst catch rates of all the Pokemon we're going to be going after. So we really are going to have to hope for the best here. It's our only opportunity as well to get Mantine. We do have 14 more Great Balls. Let's hope that it catches in one of these. We can't really go for any more attacks now. And sending it to sleep I don't think would be a good idea either, because we are confused. I will give it one go, see if we do manage to send it to sleep, and we do. Is this fate smiling down upon us? That is the question. No, it's not. I think we might exhaust all of our balls here trying to get Mantine. Honestly, I'm not that bothered about it getting on the party. There we go, we've got Mantine, we do have our Sea Pancake. We're going to call it Pancake, and now at long last, we can make our way into our next gym. Before we do that though, I am going to have a little bit of a regroup of the party. I'm going to put some of our stronger Pokemon in the box so that we have very good backups in case something goes wrong. So I'll meet you back at this PC once I've decided what we're doing. And this is our party going into the 5th gym battle. We've still got Swirly up the top, although we'll probably change that before we actually encounter Chuck himself. Totodile is going to evolve into Feraligatr now, here at level 30. So it's goodbye to Crocodile, hello to Feraligatr in its place, and we have a nice fully evolved Pokemon there. We've still got Fish in the team. Fish is, of course, there for the cheap Dragon Rage strategies. I'm going to be utilising that as much as we can while we can here in the early part of the game. Now, Chinny is going to learn Spark, which is a fantastic move. It's going to be one of our very few Electric-type moves. And it's also going to be great for Chuck's Poliwrath. We evolve at level 27 as well, which is even better. So it's goodbye to Chinchou, we never saw you in battle, and hello to Lantern. We've got Nessie on the team, of course we're going to have Nessie on the team. A very, very good all-round Pokemon is Lapras. I reckon we could solo this, even with a level cap with Lapras. That might be something I take on in a future challenge. Perish Song, absolutely not. And then we're still rocking Cookie at the bottom as well. I've got such a soft spot for Kingler, especially now that we're saying goodbye to Krabby and hello to Kingler at level 28. We'll use a couple more rare candies. And with that, we are finally ready to go into our next gym. And with that, we are ready for our 5th gym together. This is Chuck. He's a fighting type specialist and he's going to lead with Primeape. We're going to use a couple of stomps on the Primeape, we'll get rid of it straight away. And then we'll continue stomping at least for the interim against the Poliwrath. We have been sent to sleep though, which isn't great, so we're going to swap into Fish. He's got nothing that won't be resisted by Fish, and I reckon just a couple of Dragon Rages will knock it out. Chuck, we weren't expecting anything bad from you, and you didn't give us anything terrible. The best thing you've given us though is TMO1, that's Dynamic Punch. We might be using that later on, but the more important thing is now we get the air balloon. That means we're able to fly, and I don't have to backtrack by walking anymore. Let's go. Although I do now have the rocket section. I'm going to skip that for you. I'll meet you in front of Price. As you would expect, the rocket section was a giant non-entity, so here we are in front of Price. And Chinny should be able to handle this one all on their own. We're going to have super effective moves for all of Price's Pokemon here. We can use Surf against the Piloswine, knock that really deep into the red. Just a couple more Surfs will knock it out. Worst that could have happened there is we got frozen. It didn't happen there. And now the worst that can happen is that we flinch. I am going to swap... Actually, no, I'm not. We don't need to. We don't need to swap out. If we paralyse the Dugong there, Glacier badge is obtained, and now the level cap goes up to 35. That means just one thing, it's time for Jasmine. Just before we take on Jasmine, Tully has something for us. We've got a Water Stone, and that means we can evolve our Poliwhirl into Poliwrath. I know some of you were probably hoping for Politoed, but I think Poliwrath is going to be the better Pokemon for this Nuzlocke. And of course, at level 35, we can learn Submission. We'll get rid of Ice Punch. We've got Nessie for our Ice-type moves now, so I think that's a little bit surplus to requirements. And with that, we can make our way over to Olivine Gym. You may have noticed we have a new addition to the team. Fish is taking a very, very well-deserved rest, and in its place we have Quaggy. Quaggy is going to be absolutely fantastic against Jasmine. Even having the female attack DV, Earthquake is going to very comfortably one-shot both of these Magnemite, and then we can use Earthquake and Surf against the Steelix. So we'll start off with the Surf, we take it deep into the red, and then we'll pivot to Earthquake. This Steelix really doesn't have anything to hit us very hard at all, it misses every single time. That was a very easy Jasmine battle. We get our penultimate gym badge for the Johto region. We get our level cap up to 40. And now I've got the rocket section. I'll show you the rival battle, and then we will skip to Clair. And now, just before we take on the fourth and penultimate rival battle, let's get everyone up to level 40. I know it might seem a little bit cheap using an infinite rare candy, but you've got to remember I'm creating content out of this particular challenge. If I was doing it in my own time, I probably would do the grind, but to make it sustainable here for the channel, I've decided the infinite rare candy is the way to go. We're going to say goodbye to Rage at this point, it's surplus to requirements, we'll have Slash in its place, and now at level 36 with Nessie we are going to be learning Ice Beam, and Ice Beam is going to be a game changer. Not only is it going to be super effective against the rival's Meganium, it's going to be super effective against all of Clair's Dragonair as well. The last Pokemon to get up to level 40 is of course Quaggy. We're going to move Quaggy into second place though, and we're going to be leading with Nessie for this rival battle. So let's see how we get on. This is rival number 4 and he leads with Golbat. We're not going to complain about that because that means we can use an Ice Beam. Magnemite comes out to play, we'll use a Surf there to knock it out in one. Haunter says hello and goodbye in one turn. Sneasel Pleasel's next, it uses Feint Attack because we are slower than it, but there's nothing the rival can do now. We'll use an Ice Beam, we take it out in one shot, and we say goodbye to the rival, and now I've got to do the rest of the rocket section. Well, that was 10 minutes of my life I'm never getting back. We are now in front of Clair though. This is our final Jotonian gym leader. She's a Dragon-type specialist who leads with Dragonair. It's going to be a one-shot on all three of these Dragonair. We know it's going to be that with Ice Beam, so we can turn our attention over to the Kingdra. We're going to see how much Ice Beam does. Just shy of half. Let's see how much a Body Slam does. Enough to get her into healing range. We have paralysed the Kingdra as well now, but we have run out of Ice Beam PP. We're just going to Body Slam for a little bit. If we end up paralysed, then we will swap to something else. Hyper Beam, that's absolutely fine. It gives us 2 turns to attack. That is Clair defeated, and now we've just got to do a very quick run through to Dragon's Den, where we will be able to get our next badge. And in order to get the badge, we are going to need to answer a little bit of a quiz, but fortunately for us, this quiz is exactly the same as the radio card quiz in Goldenrod City. It's 11212 to get the correct answers, and now we are able to get the Rising Badge from Clair. The Rising Badge gives us a new level cap as soon as we have got the TM from Clair, and that is also our final Jotonian Gym Badge. That means we are on our way to the Pokemon League with 0 losses. Our level cap has gone up by a whole 2 levels as well. Absolutely fantastic. So I'm now going to start making my way through Victory Road, where we're going to have another rival battle to come. And now it is time for the 5th and final rival battle before the league. This time he's going to lead with Sneasel Pleasel. We're not going to outspeed Sneasel with our Quagsire, but we are able to comfortably 2-shot Sneasel. That brings us on to Meganium, where 4 times a week we are getting out of there and we are sending out Nessie in its place. A high roll from Ice Beam is enough to one-shot that, so we'll swap back to Quaggy for the Magneton. Earthquake's going to guarantee one-shot this thing. It's 4 times super effective and we are on to Golbat. Now, what should we do against the Golbat? I think we'll do a Surf here. and then we'll swap so that we aren't confused against the Golbat. Ice Beam will comfortably knock it out, and we do outspeed. The next Pokemon's Haunter. Might as well use a Surf here. The last Pokemon is Kadabra. We'll use a Body Slam as he uses Future Sight, and that is the rival all defeated for one last time before the League. And with that, we are at the Pokemon League. So now we're going to heal up whether we need to or not, and then we'll take on the League. This is where most of my Nuzlockes fall apart, so let's see what team we're taking into the League. We've got Quaggy the Quagsire at level 42. We've got Nessie the Lapras. We've got Swirly the Poliwrath, Dial the Feraligatr, Cookie the Kingler, and Chinny the Lantern. That is the team we are taking into the League. Let's see just how well or badly we do. Now, Will is our first League member. He is a Psychic type specialist who leads with Xatu, so we're going to lead with Lapras. Let's see how we get on. I'm hoping for a good, clean fight here. Xatu comes out to play, will use an Ice Beam, but we do end up being confused. Ice Beam is a guaranteed one-shot though, so he sends out Jinx. Jinx has no physical defense behind us, so we're going to swap into Dial, and then we're just going to headbutt her, but she has sent us to sleep. That is a very, very bad start. Let's swap into Quaggy now, hope that Psychic doesn't hit us too hard, but it does take us down 2-2. We knock it out, and here comes Executor. We're going to swap back into Nessie for the Executor. It doesn't have any grass-type moves on it, so that was a very safe swap. Here comes Slowbro. We've got nothing great for Slowbro, so we're just going to paralyze it, and then we're going to keep brute forcing it. I think this is the best option against the Slowbro. A very lucky critical hit there. Last Pokemon Xatu. A crit would have knocked out anything else. We're safe, and we have lost nobody as we get through Will. Up next is Koga. Koga is, of course, a poison-type specialist. He's going to lead with Ariados. That's interesting because Ariados is going to be running neutral for the ground-type moves. That makes me think that instead of swapping into Quaggy and leading with Quaggy, we should probably still lead with a Pokemon like Nessie that has incredibly high special attack. I'm going to take the Quickie C off of Lantern, and I'm going to give it to Quaggy instead. And let's see how we get on. I don't think there's any more we can do prep-wise for this battle. It's now or never. Let's see what Koga has in store for us. We're going to start off with a Surf against the Ariados, take it deep into the yellow. Another Surf knocks it out. Venomoth is second. Interesting. Psychic hits us fairly weakly. We'd expect that with it not being stabbed. We are confused though, but it's a single turn confusion. Up third is Fortress. Now, Fortress likes to go boom. However, we do almost always have a safety turn there. Muck is a little bit more of an anomaly. I'm going to use an Ice Beam and hope for the best here. We get a very nice critical hit. We finish it off with Surf, and now we've just got to hope that we can hit this Crobat. If we hit the Crobat, we easily win, and we do. Koga was incredibly easy, all things considered, and our reward is Rain Dance. That's Koga all done and dusted. We can move ourselves on to Bruno. Gonna do the healing in here though, just so that we don't get any of the flashing on screen. Just a single full restore needed there. I'm gonna take a couple of moments to think, and then we'll take on Bruno. Right, I think that Quaggy is the best lead here because we are going to get that double damage off on the Hitmontop if it digs underground. That's exactly what it does, and even then we didn't one-shot. Hitmonlee's out next. We're going to continue using Earthquake as double kick hits us fairly hard. We are going to need to swap now when the Hitmonchan comes out. I think I will do a single Earthquake as we take the guaranteed damage. In fact, let's risk it for a biscuit. We'll do the double there. Machamp is the dangerous one in this battle. We're going to swap to Cookie, and Cross Chop does a lot more damage than I was hoping there. Maybe Chinny is the way to survive. Cross Chop misses. We can paralyze it at the very least, but a Cross Chop does a lot of damage. We're playing very cheap with Parafusion, but still Cross Chop has knocked out our Lantern. That is a little bit devastating. I was really hoping we'd save that Lantern. It's our only thing that we had for super effective against the water type. Now he seems to be throwing. I don't know what's going on with Bruno's AI here, but he has decided to try and give us a little bit of relief. We are going to get through this battle now, but we have lost our Lantern. That I am very, very sad about, actually, because it was going to be our lead for the last battle. but we will make do with what we have. Lantern, you were absolutely fantastic. You got us through all those places where you needed us to get through, and you're now going to have a very, very well-deserved rest as you are no longer eligible to participate in this Nuzlocke. Up next is Karen. Now, I have done the HP up strategy. If you're not sure what the HP up strategy is, if we go in with our HP slightly lower than maximum HP, that Umbreon is much less likely to use Sand Attack. That's something I know I've not explained too well in recent videos, so that is a little explanation. I'm also holding the Bitterberry to try and Uno reverse this Umbreon. We're going to use Ice Beam as well. You can see the HP up strat didn't work this time, but it does give us a greater chance of being able to get through this Umbreon. We're having a terrible start here at Karen though. We do 3-shot the Umbreon, and out next is Vileplume. We've got to get very lucky here, which we do. We get through the Vileplume without being paralysed. Gengar's next. We're going to use this as a free turn of switch. We'll swap into Quaggy and we end up being paralysed. We were supposed to Earthquake this thing. We did manage to do that, but we are now going to have to swap. It's Murkrow next. Murkrow's not going to hit us very hard at all. Feint Attack, even with Stab, isn't going to do too much. We can one-shot that away, and then we've got our choice, really, for who we want for Houndoom. I think we're going to swap into Swirly because we've not seen it for a little bit. We're going to use a Surf. It should hopefully one-shot, but she does critical hit there. So instead, it's going to be hello to Dial. We've not seen Dial in a little while. Flamethrower's not going to do much against the Dial. Crunch, however, will do a little bit more. We knock out Karen's last Pokemon, though, and we have 5 Pokemon for Lance, including our Ice type. Let's use our full restores, get them all healed up now. And I'm going to try and think of what I want to do for Lance. Do we want to play it risky or do we want to play it safe? That is the question. We're going to give the Nevermelt Ice back to our our Lapras now. I do think I want to use a couple of PP restoring items at this point as well. And now, just before taking on Lance, we are going to get everyone up to level 50. I always forget to use the Candy Jar in the middle of the Pokemon League, and I do wonder, you know, whether if we'd used it at the correct moments, we would still have our Lantern on our team now. But that is a question I don't want to be asking myself, because I will keep kicking myself. Instead, we're going to look forward to the future, and we are going to get everyone up to level 50. It will be a very, very simple battle, hopefully. I can't see too many issues whatsoever. We have a lot of moves that are going to be super effective against all of Lance's Pokemon. I do, however, think that our Quagsire might be the least useful one on the party here, just because its best attacking move is a ground type move. We're going to get Cookie up to level 50 as well. I don't think Cookie's done too well in recent times, but I'm still happy it's on the team. We do get Crabhammer now, which we're not going to learn because we've got Surf. And with that, we are ready to take on Lance. Right, let's do this. It's time for Lance the Lie with the Flyers, and I don't think this is going to be a particularly difficult battle. It might be one where we have to swap in and out a couple of times, but we're already doing over half damage against the Gyarados. It goes down and we've got our first level 47 Dragonite. That goes down in one shot. Second one's going to go down as well, and he's probably going to send out Aerodactyl next. That does mean we're going to swap into Swirly, because I think Swirly's going to resist Rock Slide very, very well indeed. Wing Attack, however, is going to hit very hard. I didn't really factor that in. Absolutely fine, though, as we swap ourselves into Dial for the Charizard. Wing Attack, of course, is what he was going to use there, so we will knock it out in a single Surf. Last Dragonite comes out to play. He should be using Safeguard. That gives us the in for the victory. We knock it out, and we are through Lance first try, and we didn't lose any Pokemon. And that means we are the champions of the Johto region. We have gotten through with just one loss, which honestly I think is very, very good, even for an easy type like the Water type. Let us get the Hall of Fame up in lights. We have Lapras, we have Feraligatr, we have Poliwrath, we have Quagsire, we have Kingler, and then we do have our Fainted Lantern. Now, that is only half the story. We've got another 8 gym badges plus the red fight left to come. So don't you dare go anywhere. Kanto is next. And we rejoin the action here on the remnants of Cinnabar Island. I have done all of the side quests to unlock all the parts of Kanto, so that we're going to have a very, very smooth ride through. We're going to do a big Cantonian gym gauntlet. Now, Quackers is back on the team in place of our Lantern. Chinny, of course, did not make it through the league, but we are going to be leading with Quaggy for the first gym battle. Blaine is the only city where we can't fly to because he's not in a city at all. He's hiding in a cave, and he's also going to be one of the easiest gym leaders we can face. So we'll get him out of the way first, we'll go over to Janine, and then I think we'll do Brock third. Brock is probably going to be our third easiest of all of them. Janine's just a pushover in general. This is going to be a clean sweep here from Quaggy. We even outspeed the Rapidash courtesy of the Quickie C. So we get our first Cantonian gym badge. It lights up, and we can make our very quick way over to Janine. I think for Janine I am going to lead with Lapras just because of Ice Beam for Crobat. So once we're in front of Janine, what I will do is I will swap Lapras into first place. And now we are ready to take her on. Let's see how we get on. She's going to lead with Crobat. We've got Ice Beam. It's going to be super effective. But even at level 51, we did not outspeed the Crobat. Goodness me. We'll use Surf against the Ariados. That goes down in one. Weezing comes out to play. We'll use Surf there as well. It should be an easy one-shot. The next Weezing comes out, and suddenly she's only got one Pokemon left. It's going to be a Venomoth. We're going to drown it with another Surf. We say thank you, Janine, for the Soul Badge. That's 2 Cantonian badges done in under 2 minutes. We're going to make it 3, though, because our next destination is going to be Pewter City. Pewter City is where Brock lives, and we'll also do 3 Drill at the same time. It makes sense that in one of these Nuzlockes we count 3 Drill as an honorary gym leader. This gym trainer, however, is just getting in our way. We get rid of Jerry, who is standing in for Campalium, and we are ready for Brock. Brock is our next gym leader together. He's a Rock-type specialist who leads with Graveler. That's fine for us. That goes down in one. We'll continue surfing against the Kabutops. It's another nice and easy one-shot. Here comes Omastar, and it doesn't quite one-shot. He's going to stall a little bit, but we aren't on the clock, so it doesn't matter. 2 more Pokemon, both 4 times weak to water now. Goodbye Onix, goodbye Rhyhorn, and thank you for our 3rd Cantonian gym badge in under 3 minutes. We are racing through. Let's take on 3 Drill, and then I'll take a little sit down and have a think of who I want to do for the next gym leaders. 3 Drill's going to be very easy. Of course, he has 3 level 30 B Drill. We've got 4 Surfs, so we're just going to keep on surfing. And then I think we'll probably head over to Vermilion City and lead with Quaggy so that we can eliminate Lieutenant Surge. So I'll tell you what, I'll meet you in front of him. And here we find ourselves in front of Lieutenant Surge. He's an electric type specialist, but I am hoping that having the ground type will make this fairly easy. We one-shot Raichu as we grow to level 51. Electrode comes out to play. Worst it can do is double team. I don't think it can hit us very hard with anything. Magneton's got nothing. Zap Cannon won't affect us, being the ground type. Electrode number 2 comes out and our first Earthquake misses. Second hit so, and that just leaves Electabuzz left to go. Quick Claw proc means we one-shot the Electabuzz without taking any damage, and that is the Thunder Badge. Right, I think I'm feeling confident. The next gym leader we are going to take on is going to be Sabrina. She is a fairly tricky gym leader, but I think we will be absolutely fine. So I'm going to make my way there and I will join you in front of her. And we find ourselves here in front of Sabrina. She's the Psychic type specialist of Saffron City, and one of our issues is we're not going to outspeed this Espeon. Sand Attack fails though, and that's great for us, but it does hit on turn number 2. That means we're probably going to have to switch. Now, I gave Dial Return, but that's a little bit useless if Mr. Mime sets up a Reflect. Mr. Mime's slower than Espeon though, so we are able to 2-shot it, or 3-shot it I should say, with Bite. Now there's a Reflect up. We've had a Spadef drop as well. Our best option here is to swap out for the Alakazam. Psychic doesn't hit us too hard. We're going to try a Body Slam and hope that we don't get a Spadef drop. Fantastic, we paralysed it. That is the end of the battle for Sabrina, and we have our next gym badge. That's the Marsh badge acquired, and I reckon, you know, Misty is going to be next. Misty's going to be a little bit of a war of attrition, you know. because we don't have anything super effective against her, but we are going to resist all of her Pokemon. I'm going to do a very quick heal before we take her on. Now, I have already done the power plant section, and that means for the first time in a very long time we're able to surf to assert our dominance against Misty. Let's see how we get on. Golduck is first, of course. We're going to body slam that, take it into the yellow. Psychic doesn't hit us anywhere near as hard as Sabrina's Psychics were. Here comes a Quagsire. Surf's going to run neutral against the Quagsire. Amnesia's meaningless. And up next is Lapras. It's Lapras versus Lapras. She's not gone for Perish Song, even though it doesn't really matter if she does, because of course we don't have to worry about having just a solo Pokemon. We are confused, so I'm playing it a little bit risky here, but we have paralysed the Starmie. Gonna hope that we don't hit ourselves in confusion. She's getting herself in a bit of a recover loop, but it's all over for Misty now. A very quick battle, all things considered. Cascade Badge in not a time, because this is not a challenge run. We have got Erica next. Erica's going to be our penultimate gym leader. She does have a mandatory trainer, so I'm going to skip through that, and I'll meet you when it's time to battle her herself. And now we are in front of Erica. Let's engage her in battle. We're going to be running with Lapras. That's really our only choice for this battle, and we've got to hope we outspeed everything. Tangela goes down in one shot. Up comes Jumpluff. That goes down because it's quad weak, of course, to ice. Victory Bell's next. That's another one shot. She's only got Blossom left to go. We outspeed it. We knock it out in one hit, and that is goodbye to Erica. Rainbow Badge acquired. We've got one more gym badge left to go. That's going to be Blue of Viridian City. So let's get ourselves over there, and we're also going to get all of our Pokemon in the party up to level 58. Level 58 is the level cap. I refuse to rare candy until we get to Blue himself. What I'm doing in Nuzlocke here in Kanto, because really the Cantonian gym leaders are a little bit of a pushover, so I did want some potential to maybe lose a Pokemon here or there. We got the luck we needed, especially at Sabrina. We could have been in a situation where we lost one or two because of Sabrina, but it didn't happen in the end, so I'm very happy about that. I'm changing my mind there. Gonna get rid of Body Slam there. We'll see why later in the red battle, potentially, if we end up using Swirly in battle. We've got to get everyone else up to level 58 now, though, and then we will be ready to engage Blue in battle. I'm not sure how this one's going to go, actually. It could go either way, and goodness me, we're getting the option to learn a lot of Hydro Pumps. It's a shame it's not a very good move. Just the two more Pokemon left to go. Cookie doesn't want to learn Hydro Pump, so Cookie's in my good books. And honestly, Quaggy could learn it, and it'd still be in my good books. I've got such a soft spot for Quagsire. But now it is time to engage Blue in battle. Let's see how we get on. We're leading, of course, with Lapras, because Blue's going to lead with Pidgeot, and that makes the most sense. Wing Attack doesn't do much at all, although it does outspeed us. Up second is Alakazam. We'll swap to Body Slam, and we're hoping not to get a Spadef drop. He's using Recover, and that's great, because now we've paralysed it. The big threat of this battle has already gone. Alakazam arguably was the biggest threat, followed by this Gyarados. However, we do have a neutral Ice Beam against the Gyarados. Hyper Beam means he's going to recharge, and now he's in a healing loop. We do need to save Lapras, however, for the Executor. So we're going to swap into Dial now, because we've got fairly strong physical attack with Dial. Although a critical hit is a little bit scary there. We do have a free turn or two. He is going to recharge, but we're not doing over half health. Cookie, save the day, please. I believe in you. You've got a lot of physical defense. Stomp all over that Gyarados. We knock it out in two. Executor comes out to play. Right, Nessie's probably not going to survive something there. Are we up the creek without a paddle? That is the question. We're going to risk it. Take it in Sunlight. Do we outspeed and do we one-shot? We do. We took the risk and it paid off. Arcanine's next. We've got our options. Come out, Quackers. You were the first one with the fullest health. Extreme Speed's going to do nothing. This should one-shot. Thank you, Blue. We were in a little bit of danger, but we just about survived. And that is all 16 gym badges acquired. That means there is only one battle left to go. We're going to heal up whether we need to or not, and we're going to then take a little trip down to Professor Oak. Even though I've got the fly point, we're going to do our traditional cycle down there. We're going to say hello to Oak. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I thought you had a live radio show, you know. Never mind, you're observing our Pokedex. It's better than normal, so I hope you give me some credit. We're going to air balloon back to Viridian City, and we're going to make our way into Silver Cave. So I've got a little bit of cycling to do, so we will join the action once again when we are in front of Red. And we find ourselves in front of Red. I've taught Curse to our Quagsire. I've also taught Dynamic Punch to our Poliwrath. I'm not going to use too many curses here though, I just want the one to get a slight attack boost. We're going to use Triple Amnesia though against this Pikachu, and then we're going to swap to Earthquake. I don't want to do full curse strategies, that would be an incredibly anticlimactic end to this challenge. We're going to see just how well or badly we defeat this Venusaur. Solar Beam hits us fairly hard, but it doesn't knock us out. On to the Espeon we go. Reflect is kind of terrible, but we do manage to survive it. We're going to survive the Espeon. Here comes Snorlax. Right, how much is Earthquake going to do? We are paralysed now. It's probably the end of the line for Quaggy now. Body Slam knocks it out, but that gives us a swap into Swirly. We're going to use Mind Reader, hope it uses Amnesia. The Reflect has faded, and Dynamic Punch is guaranteed to land. Charizard is next. We want to get out of there quick, sharp, and in a hurry. Let's say hello to Dial. It's going to be starter against starter. We've got Surf. Flamethrower's not going to hit us very hard, but the burn is a little bit annoying. We should be absolutely fine. We knock out the Charizard. And now I've misclicked against the Blastoise. We get hit by the burn and Surf knocks us out. Right, let's go into Nessie. We're going to Body Slam, try and get the paralysis off. There's nothing really Blastoise can do to hit us, and it is all over for Red. We have defeated him, and we have defeated the Nuzlocke. Goodness me, that was an incredibly enjoyable challenge. It was my first ever type lock, and I had a lot of fun. If you did as well, please do remember to leave a like on this video. If you've made it this far and you've got any feedback, leave it in the comments down below. If you want to see more like this, A, let me know in the comments, and B, subscribe to the channel. But until next time, I will say thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon.